Hey there. So, an exciting thing happened this week for me. I appeared on a podcast of kind of related to self development. It's an interesting, crazy, a weird story about how it came all about, and a friend through a friend ended up linking me and the podcast host together. Ended up just kind of working out. Had a great time, absolute ball of a time. And it'll probably come out in a couple of weeks. They got to do editing and all that jazz, which is a stark contrast to this channel where we do not edit at all. Like we just film, we do it in one take. Professionals, we do it as one take and one take only. But there were some interesting things that we covered in that one, and we covered a range of different topics, but something which we got onto, which I thought was really I felt really energized when I was talking about it at the time, and when we were going back and forth with it, because, as someone who is really interested in self-development, it's hard to find people who are on that same wavelength. What I've noticed in most situations is, if you talk about self-development or self-improvement, or even just the idea of I want to, better myself. I'm here at this point in my life and I want to improve myself and be better. Unless it's within the confines of maybe going to the gym, if it's in that arena, you might get a few pats on the back and people think, oh yeah, that's great. But when you get into this stuff and very, core self-development principles, 80% of the viewership, or the audience in front of you, whoever it may be, it might be work colleagues, or maybe you're addressing a presentation or something. Who knows? It doesn't matter what the audience is, but 80% of them switch off and just go, yeah, whatever. Oh, cool, whatever. Don't care. So they're not even paying attention. And then out of that remaining 20%, 15 out of the 20% is they'll listen to you. That 20% will listen to you, but maybe 10%. Nah, it'd have to be more. Maybe 10 or 15, probably 15% will listen to what you have to say and then go, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I totally agree with you. They'll consciously agree with what is being said, but then never go actually do it. So going back to what we were talking about a couple weeks ago, where it was you can know you should do something, but until you actually do it, it's you never really knew it at all. So, or you never fully understood it. So how could you say you knew what it meant? So yeah, another 15%. So you're only remaining with 5% of the audience left who will listen to it and then actually give it a shot. And then of that 5%, probably 4 out of 5%, they'll do it for about a week, and then they will turn around and go, it didn't transform my life within the space of a week. I didn't go from, this point in my life to, Elon Musk billionaire type series, or it wasn't a complete 180 in a week. It wasn't 5 years worth of self-development in the space of a week. I didn't get those kind of results. And so it's just a complete unrealistic expectations. They think they've learned one or two self-development principles, they've applied it for a week, and then they think the whole world should just change, and then that just doesn't work for them. And then it is terrible, because then that percent that actually gave it a go, that 4% that gave it a go, they'll go out and then tell everyone else, oh yeah, it's just snake oil, it's just bullshit, it's just self-development, it's a joke, man. And then the funniest thing is that 1%, that very slim minority who actually listened, was yeah, okay, I understand what you're saying, applied it, and then stuck with it. They're the only ones who actually really reap the benefits of these principles. Who, don't get me wrong, everyone has those moments where they, stumble and fall, and, have moments where they fall out of it for a little bit. No one's perfect. But as long as they keep trying to persist in the program and the routine they're trying to establish, or just the technique or principle they're trying to live by in their life, as long as they keep persisting, they will see the results. But going back to one of the things in the podcast, which really energized me, and I think I mentioned that before, it energized me, but like to go back and forth with someone on it was, we were talking about, I think, oh God, if I remember correctly, it was something to do with, it was in relation to Jordan Peterson and what he offered as a way to live your life, and what his kind of work mainly embodies. I mean, yeah, like Jordan Peterson has some takes on other issues, but I'm just talking about, the self-development related stuff. Like when it goes to his takes on, other factors and other things outside of self-development, I don't know. To me, that's not his domain of expertise. So, you can take it with a grain of salt. But when it comes to the self-development side of stuff, we were talking about how I think the question to me was, how did I get into self-development? And one of the reasons was I was watching these, 8 to 10 minute snippet videos that this channel on YouTube was posting. And I think the channel's called Lord Archangel or something, like 911. And the host actually knew it. Like I only remembered like part of the channel's name. It was like, oh, I think it's Archangel something, and then he corrected me and gave a thing, and I was like, oh my God, that one, and then went on to explain that that was how I kind of stumbled across someone like Jordan Peterson, and then we went further by discussing like, what do you think he encapsulates and what his whole message is about, and what we got it down to was essentially purpose. And having purpose in life is what it's all about. But not just in like not in just a singular grand scale, like where it's just like, my purpose in life is to, cure cancer or, HIV, or to win the state championship, tennis competition, or I don't know what the purpose, maybe the grand purpose you might have in your head. But even finding purpose in the little things, in the little day-to-day things, like taking out the trash and like stuff like that. Where can you find purpose and meaning in that? And for me, when I think about those more daily routine things and, just house maintenance, the purpose is about creating an environment that is, safe, and also best for, just not just me, but others. And so it's trying to find that little bit of purpose. It's not that grand scale, lofty sounding purpose, but it's that day-to-day stuff, and finding purpose behind that. And also with work as well. Work is another great example. And like, I think meaningless work is torture. I really do believe that. If you feel that your work is meaningless, it is a daily torture that you go through. And that's where you have people who, like, when a Friday comes, they're like, woo, can't wait to get totally wasted. And then they just waste the whole weekend because they get fucking shit-faced the whole, like, Friday, Saturday. And then they're like, oh, Mondays. I mean, everyone has a day or two like that eventually. Like, sure, I'm sure they do. But, like, some people have it. It's their every week. It's like this Groundhog Day, but it's a week for them. Which just isn't, how you want to do it. So you want to be able to find meaning in your work, even if it isn't the most ideal job you want to do in your life. You got to find some sort of underlying purpose in it, or some way that you can perceive it yourself, that you have like an impact and a purpose from it. And if you can't, and there are too many factors involved in that environment that are preventing you from, finding being able to carve out a little bit of purpose in that role and in that job, then I think that is a big indication that you need to move on. You need to move on to something else. Whether that means you quit your job immediately, and that's a whole nother story. You need to think about your own financial, situation, whether you got rent or mortgage or kids to pay for. In a lot of instances, I recommend trying to find a job first before leaving your current one. So try to line things up, because that's what I've done in the past. But it always depends on your own situation. Yeah, and talking to the host of that podcast about Jordan Peterson's main message was really enjoyable, and I can't wait till you guys see it, because we cover a bunch of other stuff, and that's not the only. It's not just Jordan Peterson that we talk about. But being able to capture kind of synthesize a lot of what Jordan Peterson was about or is about, is kind of was an enjoyable experience. And I think getting it down to that purpose level, and you view it from that perspective of where can you find purpose in, you know, all the facets of your life, I think is a great way where you will derive some meaning. Because, like I said, meaninglessness is torture. So you don't want to torture yourself. So give it a shot. It's not really something that you can necessarily, you know, X, Y, Z, follow these steps and you'll figure it out. But it's more of like a mindset that you need to be thinking about, and an attitude, or like an attitude that you need to put yourself into to be able to try and see those things. And the more you're just aware of it, the more you'll start to see it. It's one of those like just subconscious things that becomes conscious when you actually think about it a little bit more. And before you know it, you'll start to be able to see it everywhere. And then, you know, your life will be a lot more meaningful. And I think another point we discussed in the podcast was that, you know, you can have all the money in the world, but if you have no meaning in life, you know, it's a pretty shallow and pitiful existence, where you can have a lot less material wealth but live a very maxed out or very high meaningful life, and you can feel like an absolute rock star, even though you can feel like you're selling out stadiums, but you know you're not. But that doesn't matter, because you're living such a important life that is important to you. And that is just, I think that's what people really want out of life. They want to get to that. So give it a shot. And I'll see if I can post a link to the podcast when it comes out on the blog. So if anyone's curious, you can go over and have a look. But yeah, that's it for this week, and I'll see you next week. So bye for now.